Do you listen to anything?
Yes, sir. I listened to. Should I start with music? We'll start with music, I guess.
I was pushing for music because, despite the fact that I planned to listen to the new Weezer album, I didn't. I didn't listen to any
I
music.
did. I
Well,
listened to the new Weezer album.
and it was the best.
It was fucking weird, bro. I don't think there's guitar in it at all. If there is guitar in it, it is not distorted guitar. It's like all like strings and shit. It's so weird. It's like orchestral Weezer,
That's
but
gonna put me
it
to
still
sleep.
has like drums and bass, but it's like the guitar is just not guitar. It's like violins and shit.
Now their single was exciting. I thought it was okay. Whatever the fucking put down your phone shit was. But no, just an orchestrated Weezer album sounds like it would put me to sleep.
I've listened to it all the way through once, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this. Um, they have one song on it that I really liked. It's about like Audible, which I thought was hilarious because I'm like, oh, look at that, Weezer's got an Audible sponsorship.
I hope they did get some money for that.
Yeah, he's talking about listening to. It's called Grapes of Wrath. He's talking about listening to different books while he's doing shit.
That's weird.
I know, but it's pretty catchy. It's pretty good. I recommend that song for sure. The rest of it kind of blended together a lot. So I mean, I'd have to listen to it again, but like I don't think it's bad necessarily. I don't know if I was in the right frame of mind to listen to it though.
Needle Drop gave it a 7 or 8.
Out of
10.
what 10?
Yeah. Gave it high praise.
That's Anthony Fantano, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The
He
melon.
gave Bring Me the Horizon's last thing a pretty good rating as well, I believe.
I think for canon storytelling, I disagree about that album, even though I haven't listened to it.
Well, you should, yeah, okay. I was gonna say you should listen to it, but like I don't know. I don't know if it's your thing necessarily.
Oh no, wait, I don't know if I hate it or not, but you said it's not an album, and I disagree about that.
Yeah, that was a that was a weird misunderstanding of words where I was trying to segue into a conversation topic that we just didn't get into.
So you're ready to say that you were wrong?
Sure.
Yeah. And digital releases can be different than physical releases used to be.
Because the way that they talked about it, it was because actually the word you used was record, and I took it to mean album. Because the way that it was explained is that with an album, there's normally a whole bunch of extra bullshit along with it, like the whole touring structure and all that stuff. It comes with a lot of connotations that aren't there with this thing, and I was wanting to segue into a conversation about our thoughts on the evolution of the music industry, on artists not doing like album shit and doing the tour thing and only putting out like 12 songs for a couple of years and then doing it again.
Well, they put out a record.
Sure,
And they'll
call
be
it
on-
what you will.
They'll be on tour eventually, and they'll play those songs.
Yes, but it's a very different thing because they're putting out like four separate things that are all under the same umbrella. It's hard to explain. I'll just have to read the entire interview to you. No, I'm not going to do that.
Okay. They'll do it. Yeah, it's a content drop, whatever.
Yeah.
There's merch and a tour and multiple albums. Actually, Weezer had some interviews that came out recently. Different members that kind of sounded like weirdly fast too. Like their plan for their next 4 records are to take inspiration from different artists, including Franz Ferdinand and a couple other people. But their guitarist said that one of them is going to be a Weezer-inspired Weezer album. Since they've spent a lot of time playing
They're going to
around.
make their own Zerwee.
Exactly. And I'm down for that.
That's
I think
nuts.
they should. Because the guitarist said they've been kind of playing around a lot of different stuff for the last 10 years.
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
he quoted the drummer Pat saying, like, I remember before we started all the co-writing stuff, and then talking to Rivers and saying, I want to co-write a song with the guy who wrote "Say It Ain't So." I don't
Yeah.
Because I guess they do a lot of co-writing now. But
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I jumped into, because I was wanting something like more relaxing, so I decided to listen to a bunch of Lindsey Stirling, and not like her album before this last one came out in like 2017 or something. Randomly had Rivers Cuomo on it as a feature, which I thought was interesting.
yeah, his voice is very
He just
specific
does
to me. I
weird
don't
shit.
want him on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, especially in their more recent shit, like, he's actually, it's very specifically him, but it's also weirdly, he fits into a lot of places with that voice that you wouldn't expect.
He's a trained singer. He's talented. He knows what he's doing. His timbre is so specifically Weezer to me, but I would be down to hear it. Obviously their Toto cover went pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, they're on the Teal album, there was quite a few things on there where I'm like, holy shit. Like, whenever they did Paranoid by Black Sabbath, like, she sounded pretty damn close to Ozzy in that. I was surprised. Like, not perfect, obviously, but, like, I was surprised that he could get that close.
Was he doing an impression?
I wouldn't call it an impression, but it was, like, definitely the same vibe and everything. Like, it was really, like, it was so close. Like, the recording and everything, it was, like, a very, very strong cover. Like, not the kind of cover that I like, because I prefer them to change it up. But the fact that it was that close was pretty impressive.
I'll finish the Teal album one day. I want to finish OK Human first because it sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's weird.
I, again, did not listen to any music, so if you have another record.
All right, I got a couple.
Wait, did you rate? Did you give a rating to OK Human?
I want to listen to it a few more times.
Yeah, you
Because
said
if
that.
I was to do it right now, I'd say that Grapes of Wrath is like a 10 out of 10 because I enjoyed it a whole lot, and the rest of it all kind of blurs together, and I would call it like a 6.
You said you were going to listen to No Dream and give a rating. Like, listen to it again. You never gave No Dream a rating.
Oh. I didn't listen to it again.
Well, fuck you. So what's your next record?
I'm going to write that down. Ooh. Okay, so a few years ago, there was like some videos that came out for, once again, I'm back on Bring Me the Horizon. They did like a concert live from Royal Albert Hall.
Was it a
where they
concert,
did, like,
or did they just show up and play at a venue?
It was a crazy orchestral concert thing where they had like a huge orchestra behind them and like a choir and everything, and it was super dope. And I wanted to hear all of it because they only put out a couple. They put out Happy Song and Doomed. And I really wanted to hear the rest of the stuff that they did there. And finally, after checking for so long, it just popped up on YouTube Music like maybe a month ago. So I've listened to that a lot, and it's pretty freaking dope.
Metallica did that first.
Yep, and then Metallica just recently did it again.
I think Red Hot Chili
I don't know
Peppers
why.
might have done something like that.
Do what?
I think Chili Peppers did something like that too.
Huh.
Oh, you know what? Under the Bridge, the single, had a special guest choir on a special version.
Huh. Interesting.
Yep, unimportant stuff. So how was it?
Death Clock did it too.
Death Clock should do it more.
Well, they did like a whole opera or something as well.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it was really cool. I was surprised, and there was a lot of songs in there that I hadn't heard before that are like older. So I went to the album before that one as well. What the fuck is the name of it? Like, I don't remember the name.
I don't know any record's name.
It's the record from 2013.
I don't know any of those.
Sempiternal. That's the one.
Oh, I actually have heard that record a few times.
Yeah, and I found I was like a lot of the stuff on that one as well. Because the thing is, with Bring Me the Horizon, I was not a fan because they were at that point in my life, in my early 20s and shit, whenever they were popping up, and actually I guess they popped up before that, they were in that genre where everything, like, you had the heavy shit that was kind of like not very melodic or fun to listen to, and then you had the person with the super melodic but very feminine, high-pitched voice doing clean vocals, and I just tied them in with all of that, and so I was like, not interested. It's kind of boring.
Agreed.
And then whenever their album came out in 2015, That's the Spirit, whenever it was getting like radio play on the Cat and shit, which had like Happy Song on it. And then I looked into that and I started really liking it. That's when they added a lot more. While that was their most pop-friendly album, they did add a lot more, like, it was more dynamic. And then they've only expanded from there and made like even like just crazier music that's way more interesting than nobody else is doing. But yeah, the Live from Royal Albert Hall thing is very, very good. Like, so many of the songs are way better with all the extra orchestral shit, which kind of blew my mind because it made the songs that were less dynamic more dynamic. So yeah, I dig that a lot. Pretty good stuff. And then the last album is not an album. We'll bring that up forever. Ghost put out this thing in 2019 called 7 Inches of Satanic Panic, and it's 2 songs that I thought had to be covers from like the 1960s because the music is just straight up 1960s style stuff. There's a song called Kiss the Go-Goat and a song called Mary on the Cross. And they just sound like classic fucking 60s, like, I don't even know what to compare it to. Like, it's so weird, but it's excellent. It's like super excellent, like power pop awesomeness. And Mary on the Cross has like such a great like beat to it, for like the drums and stuff, like on the bells of the ride cymbal and shit. And I love it, and I love playing it, and I like playing it on a cowbell. It's super fun.
Ghost was one of those bands that had like a super exciting sound that I did not really stick with or follow up with.
Yeah, their early albums I could not get into because it was recorded like a black metal album where it's like almost in lo-fi and there's not a lot of like lower end to it. And it just sounds not great. But from their album Meliora, from like 2015, I think it was, up till now, they're doing like some really great shit. On their last album that came out, what the fuck was it called? Prequel, something like that. Prequel, but in Latin. They had a song on there called Miasma that's like a 5-minute instrumental that has a crazy fucking saxophone solo in the middle of it.
It's a saxophone
dope.
solo?
Yeah, just like it goes into this like guitar solo, that almost sounds like Beat It by Michael Jackson, and then it breaks into this crazy, like, 80s style sax solo that's going through the whole thing, and it's like, dude, this is just nuts. I love it, though. I've just gotten into music that's gotta be, like, really weird. Shit's just gotta be weird at this point. It's gotta be weird, it's gotta have a good groove to it. Otherwise, I'm not particularly interested.
You should check out that Glass Beach record again.
Maybe I will. Because I didn't hate it. It just wasn't something that I felt I could listen to a lot. And I think that has to do more with the beat of it, the thing. Like, I don't remember it being very straightforward. But yeah, I'll check it out again. Why not?
It's got a lot of grooves that hop around.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's all I got as far as music goes. You listen to any podcasts or anything like that?
I listen to podcasts all day, every day. Trump just got acquitted on his impeachment. I was listening
Fucking
to...
hell.
Yeah. Fucking douchebags. I've mostly just been following H3 stuff, like, just because they've been putting out so much content lately, but it's boring content. They're just talking about old Trisha Paytas drama. It's kind of getting repetitive. Picking fights with David Dobrik and shit.
I've seen their stuff pop up a lot, but I haven't clicked on any of it.
I think the podcast that gets me the most excited to watch now is Tim Dillon's podcast. And I've described him a couple of times very poorly. It's just he's not an outrage comic, but his presentation as like a Farley type of comic but also very abrasive and very kind of New Jersey and petty and dark. It's really hilarious, and he doesn't really do conspiracy theories anymore. He's kind of taken a big jump away from that after the Capitol riots. He's not saying anything about them. I mean, he's talked about the Capitol riots, and he had a great sketch where he played because he does his own sketches, he played the QAnon shaman and what it's like to wake up that guy every day before work.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
His podcast is something. It's the type of thing that I would like to do. It's kind of lo-fi, and he comes in with whatever he's thinking about, and he doesn't do anything. He just riffs for an hour while his assistant Ben sits there and pretends to chime in sometimes. If he's not doing anything, Tim Dillon will like stop the show and be like, "You are holding us back." But really, his assistant is just there to laugh at him, which is all anybody needs to do. I think that's the perfect formula.
So he just wants an audience.
There's a one-man
an in-person audience.
He doesn't know how to run cameras. He's not a technical guy. He's got this other comedian that he pays to be his assistant, and that guy set up the production stuff and does his editing. And it's not great, but it's good enough to get Tim Dillon on camera. But he just gets funnier every podcast. I'm really excited to see where it goes. Yeah, he was. I mean, obviously, a lot of people who talk about comics and comedians' stupid podcasts have been talking about Tim Dillon, but that's the
I
only
only
thing I'm
ever hear
excited.
about him from you. But
He's
you're kind of the only person in that sphere of comics that I talk to, so.
Yeah, there were some Joe Rogan alumni that I actually liked watching. I actually like Theo Von, and I watch the stuff he's on. But there's stuff like his solo podcast where he comes and just talks for an hour. It's really slow. His risk, because his techniques for comedy are very like come in at the right moment with the right joke, and he's got very absurdist kind of Southern humor. And it doesn't play well. He doesn't play well off of himself, but like as far as comics who roast really like obscure roasts, he's kind of an inspiration for me. On the King and the Sting podcast, where he's with Brandon Schwab, them riffing off of each other is good stuff. But yeah, Tim Dillon's probably the most exciting comedian podcast. Script Notes continues to be an optional listen, and I haven't listened to Roger Deakins' podcast in months, so I guess I didn't love it that much.
Well, maybe if you put it on YouTube.
That's true. If he would put it on YouTube, I'd be more likely to do that. I'd be more likely to do a lot of things if they were on YouTube. The Project for
Yeah.
Awesome is going on right now until the end of Sunday, so nobody listening. If you're listening, you missed it.
Yeah. I don't know what that is.
It's since 2007, the Vlogbrothers have held a 48-hour live stream once a year to raise money for charity. But what they do is they have some places that they get match donations from and places that they always donate to, like their favorites. But it's also a YouTube creator challenge. In the early days, what you would do is everybody would have the exact same thumbnail, and then Arthur, I'm on the fucking phone. Anyway, yeah, they all have the same thumbnail, but the creators would upload a video explaining why this charity needs money. So you would just once a year make a video about your favorite charities, and at the end of Project for Awesome, there would be a vote about which charities get what money, and Nerdfight's area would donate funds through the Project for Awesome. But that's on right now. They usually get like $6 or $7 million out of it. For
cool.
donations. Yeah, super awesome. So if you're listening, you missed it. Try again next year.
It's so weird because I like those guys, but I'm not subscribed to any of their shit. But I watch them when they're on other people's stuff.
Like when they're on DeFranco. Did you see their John Green's recent DeFranco?
Yeah, I did, and it made me like, I want this book. And I actually I got Hank Green's book from Audible.
That book sounds super interesting.
I haven't read it yet, or listened to it yet, whatever you want to call it. It's on there. I'll probably maybe do it this week.
I still have a copy of Turtles All the Way Down that's completely soaked in my car.
Oh.
I read the first half of it.
Why is it soaked in your car?
It was what I would read on my lunch breaks when I worked at We Go Look, and I left the windows down.
Oh, I was about to say no. Why is it wet? But that makes sense.
It's not. I mean, I guess it's not still wet, but it's trash.
Speaking of books that got wet in cars, I also listened to a new book.
What'd you listen to?
I listened to Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, which I had a copy of in my trunk, and it got all wet and ruined.
I saw that on your gram.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What a book it was. Yeah. I don't know. It was good. It kept my attention better than I thought it would. However, Dracula's barely in this fucking book at all.
Yeah, he's also barely in Castlevania.
Well, yeah, but he's like the big boss in Castlevania.
Hey, he's the big boss in all of his stories.
Like, okay, fine, but still. And a lot of the characters just are fucking awful in this book. Mainly the female characters. I hate them so much.
That. I didn't want to jump out and ask, is it the women?
I mean, it's most of the characters in this book, but Lucy is the worst fucking character in the world. And I have half a mind to just rewrite this entire book, except make it exactly the same, except to make Lucy not suck. Just rewrite this one character. But it was a book that was written in the 1800s, so, you know,
females.
Women suck back then. Because, like, all this bitch can talk about is how much she wants to, like, she's like, I got proposed to by 3 different guys today. Blah, blah, blah. And I felt so bad about breaking all their hearts. Why can't I just marry all of them? And she just, like, really fucking sucks. And I hated her very much. I'm glad she died. She died. Spoilers for a book that's over 100 years old.
You know, vampires were actually created as a metaphor for lesbianism.
I don't think that's true.
I saw that on the internet one time. There's a good case. The history of homosexuality in monster stories, specifically vampires.
I mean, there could definitely be some connections, but like loosely somewhere.
Well, how gay did this vampire book make you feel?
There were moments. There were moments that were pretty gay. There's a lot of like, I don't know, man. Like, the 1800s are weird. I don't know if people were just more okay with open affection,
Well, it's not Greece.
but like, you know, lots of dudes that like you see like their first meetings and everything like throughout this stuff, and they like become friends and just are like blatantly saying like I love you and be careful and just stuff like this, and it's kind of like it's refreshing in a way, but it's also like it feels weird because I'm thinking of the 1800s in a specific way because like the women are so not progressive at all, but then the men are like telling each other that they love each other and shit when they're not like they don't know each other that well.
Well, that happens more in our elderly citizens. They get more affectionate and more remorseful and just kind of open and soft. And then, like, old back then was 23.
Yeah, I guess that's fair because they're all
That was
fairly
very
young
common.
characters, except Van Helsing. Van Helsing's an older guy, but yeah. And the best character is the fucking insane dude in the mental institution. Renfield, he's awesome. He likes to collect flies to feed to spiders, to feed to like rats, to feed to cats, so that he can eat the cat, so that he can become more powerful.
Makes a lot of sense.
He also just eats flies and spiders, I guess.
Now, that's interesting that he didn't get toxoplasmosis and want to fuck a cat.
Well, he gets murdered by Dracula, so it's fine.
And he had all that cat power. Now he's unstoppable.
Yeah, he was going about vampirism the wrong way, apparently, because it just did not work out. He wasn't drinking their blood, he was just eating them.
Yeah, that's not the same, man. That's like smoking versus taking an edible.
Yeah. But he made a lot of sense, because like he would go through the weird times where he's like, I need to get some cats so that I can eat them and take their life or whatever. But then he also had like very clear moments where he was making more sense than anybody else in the story. Yeah, it was very very interesting character. It ends really abruptly, like they kill Dracula super easily. It's not. I don't know. Like the best parts of the book are like very small. It's unfortunately written in like journal entries and letters, which is super not fun. But at least the Audible version had a really good cast. It had fucking what's his nuts. Had Alan Cummings. And yeah, that guy Cumming.
Stamina masturbating.
God, what's his name? Why am I blanking? Tim Curry.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, Tim Curry, which was weird because like, you know, I'm used to his like I'm so much more used to his Wild Thornberry-esque voice that is still kind of present in most things that he does. But in this it was just not really there, and I feel like it's because he's gotten older. So his voice, like, you can tell it's him, but it's different. And he might have also been putting on a slight accent because he was playing Van Helsing.
Yeah, he wasn't super Britishy in the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was putting a lot of false bravado on his lines because he was being, fit for that movie.
Yeah. He's always kind of over the top in most of his performances. I think this one is a lot less that, so that might be why it was threw me off a little bit. But yeah, surprisingly good.
Well, I'll have to still not read that.
Hell yeah, but anybody in the audience who may or may not be there, you may or may not read that if you want. I would recommend it. Yeah, it's okay. It's pretty good. It's got some good stuff in it.
Recommending a
Lucy
classic
sucks.
for once.
Yeah, I also have Frankenstein downloaded and ready to go whenever I feel like doing a classic again.
I was trying to quickly pull up the stats. The potentially 27 new people can watch us from our hating on Letterkenny.
Yes. Yes.
It did bump up some views to the other stuff. There's 11 views on our last podcast now.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we got quite a few views on the Letterkenny video, but not a lot of watch time and no comments or likes or dislikes. So
I've been looking at it. No comments.
sad.
Sad.
I feel like it was a decent video, but it does get slow at a certain point where I could have possibly sped it up a little bit. I'll know that for the future.
We all right. You read any more books?
Nope.
All right. So I'll do one movie and we'll pass it off. As affordedly mentioned, I got my mother's Disney Plus password, and
oh yeah,
first thing that I did when I got that password was I got on there and I went to the movies and I watched The Emperor's New Groove.
Beautiful.
It's been so hard to find, and I read a great Vanity Fair article about the creation of that and how it started as a completely different movie. There were 3 movies in production. Sting was supposed to do the entire score and got fucked out of it.
He's into that tantric sex.
That's true. It was a crazy article, a crazy journey, but also I just hadn't seen it in a long time. And I will say, after watching it again as an adult, it's Disney's best Looney Tunes movie by far.
How many of those do they have?
Well, they don't make Looney Tunes, so none. Yeah, they tend to do it slower and not as slapsticky, and there's not a whole lot of rat-a-tat Disney movies. There's humor in Disney movies, but probably the funniest Disney movies that you're thinking of are actually Pixar films. This was it was fun to go back to. John Goodman's performance holds up. The Yzma and Krunk still charming as ever.
Hell yeah.
David Spade still as annoying as ever, frankly, and it's not going to be a worthwhile watch if you're older and you didn't love it when you were a kid. Probably I think the critic score on it is like a 4 out of 10, which is abusive and unnecessary.
Yeah, but people agree at this point that it is a fucking classic and that it is very loved. Like, people who talk about it don't talk about it being bad ever.
No, it's a lot of people's it's maybe not their favorite, but it's definitely one they're like, I forget about that movie sometimes, and it's so good to think about it. But it is on Disney Plus, as well as all of the spin-offs that you shouldn't watch, because they're really
like
really
Kronk's
bad.
New Groove.
I don't think I actually watched Kronk's New Groove. I watched the series for a little bit, and it was really bad.
I think I saw like 1 or 2 episodes, but I don't know.
Well, the first
who knows?
thing
Maybe I watched the whole thing.
The first thing that I noticed is that none of the original cast are in the series.
Oh no, that's every Disney series up until just recently. Like with the Tangled series, they actually got the people from the movie, and that was kind of the first point that happened.
The person impersonating Kronk did an okay job impersonating Patrick Warburton. The Yzma impersonator impersonating Eartha Kitt, total flop. Of course, it shouldn't be hard to make a David Spade impression, but they couldn't do it. Really, really bad. But yeah, definitely go and check out The Emperor's New Groove if you have your mom's Disney Plus password. If you forgot about it, it's still worth watching. And Sting has one song right at the end.
Hell yeah.
It's in the credits.
I remember liking that movie a lot, and then my mom liked that movie a lot, which meant that my mom watched it like 10 times a day, which meant that it got ruined for me.
No, once a year. Because the thing whips around a lot. It jumps it seems like it could be more linear, but it wouldn't benefit from that any. Yeah. And if you know the backstory about how it was written, since it was a script that at the end of the production time, Disney archives all their scripts, and then you have to submit a final script to archive and also to give to the Writers Guild for educational purposes. And they never had a finished script. They wrote the whole thing on the fly, And just before, like, they had the interns came in and brought the guy all of the script material that they had brought, and it was like 8 boxes of pages of stuff that they had kept or tossed. And then the Disney archivist came down and was like, "Hey, I'm here for the script." And he's like, "What script?" And he's like, "I need the script to this movie." And he's like, "Well, that sucks, doesn't it?" And they had the interns come back and go through all the boxes and find the pages that actually made it to screen and assemble them. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, just abusive shit. And you can kind of see that, knowing that when you watch it again, that there was some jokes.
Yeah, it is really like it seems like really pieced together, but it worked.
Yeah, good editing for sure. Uh, and it helps that you animate the scenes together so you can kind of
Yeah.
have someone force them to make sense. But it's, yeah, there's a lot of bits in there, little quick things that once you know that they did everything without a plan, that it's just like, okay, yeah, they're going over the waterfall. They probably did 6 different iterations of that line, and that's why there's no real joke there. But it's
Yeah.
good.
The Super Carlin brothers did a video about the production of The Emperor's New Groove that was quite interesting. So, for people that don't want to like read an article, you can go watch that video.
Or if you want to get on Pirate Bay, so part of the agreement to get Sting to do the soundtrack for the movie, his wife wanted to make a documentary because she was hanging out with a filmmaker, and they got unprecedented access to things like the writers' room and directors' meetings and board meetings to make a documentary, and I believe it's called The Sweat Box. And Disney will not let it be released. It's been leaked a few times. You can get it pirated only. It's not anywhere, but it shows the entire process of all 3 movies. The director's changes, the writer's changes. They even changed producers. They put 2 directors against each other to come up with the idea for the movie that would win. It was just a vicious, nasty. And Disney was like, we don't want people to see this process at all. It makes us look really, really, really fucking bad.
Yeah, it makes me think of like the Wolf of Wall Street. Like you got all the fucking businessmen up there making people fight for a job.
The director's
That's
movie
nuts.
didn't do well in their internal testing, and then they looked at his assistant and said, "Do you have any ideas?" And then the discussion about how to make it better became how it could be a different movie, and they were like, "Okay, you go take this other team of people and make as much of the movie as you can, and then we're going to look at them together, and one of you is going to win." And Emperor's New Groove won out. It was decided by the assistant. They got rid of all of the Sting music, a completely new story. They brought in John Goodman to play a new character, and Kronk was also an added thing, and just basically just it's madness. And I would like to see the Sweatbox if I ever learn to pirate, because it sounds like a crazy story.
Yeah. It's pretty nuts.
So that's my review of Emperor's New Groove. It's 10 out of meme.
Dope. And it's still memeing so hard. It's all coming together.
Wow. That's actually what made me think of it the first time, was the Kronk's a remix of Kronk doing the poison for Cusco. The poison specifically designed for Cusco.
Yeah.
Cusco's poison.
Kronk was like amazing. One of the best characters ever. With some of the best. Everything he said was just hilarious.
Yeah. I don't want to just start doing Kronk lines because I just watched it, but I might watch it again. It was so fun.
Hell yeah.
All right, what you watch?
I watched the New Mutants.
I don't know what that is.
So there was an X-Men movie that was supposed to come out in 2018.
With Aubrey Plaza?
Nope.
Damn.
Anyway. Nah, she was in Legion, and that was the X-Men show that was on. But New Mutants, it was supposed to come out, and then it got pushed because they were going to do reshoots, and then the Disney acquisition happens, so they never did reshoots, and then Disney held onto it, and they were going to put it out because they had a contract with Fox that it had to go into theaters, and then the pandemic happened.
I don't see the New Mutants on Disney Plus.
Oh, it's not there. At least not yet.
Oh, fucking Gargoyles is here.
I actually had to rent it. That's cool. So then the pandemic happened, and they couldn't put it out, and it kept getting pushed over and over again. So then they finally, just in August, were like, fuck it, it's out. There you go. So they put it out to, like, the couple movie theaters that were still open. And after 2 years of waiting for this fucking movie, everybody basically hated it. Which, of course, that's a lot of hype for an X-Men movie. But anyway, so I watched it, and you know what? It's a fucking nuts movie. It is so crazy, and I mostly liked it. There's 5 main characters, 3 of them really fucking suck and are shallow and are basically nothing. And they can go away, which includes, like, the main character. But 2 of those characters are amazing, and they need to have their own, like, mini-series or something.
So why isn't this with the other X-Men movies on Disney Plus?
Because it wasn't out at the time, and there was already deals for contracts before the Disney acquisition happened.
Oh, okay.
So it'll pop up there eventually, once it's done with its run, wherever the fuck it is. Because I just rented it on YouTube. But it is crazy, bro. It is a crazy fucking movie. Like, it's these 5 kids that are basically in this mental institution who have mutant powers or whatever. And basically the whole thing, it starts happening where one of these kids is, like, new there, and her abilities basically bring people's fears to life. And so it's a horror movie, essentially, with X-Men shit. And one of the characters, Magic, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, is freaking dope. Like, she's like, I think she's Ukrainian or something. And she's got her powers. Like, visually, it's just insane. She has, like, this puppet with her all the time. It's like this puppet of this little purple dragon thing that she talks to. And at some point, like, it comes to life, and she's got, like, this crazy fucking metal arm and is fighting this giant, like, demon bear thing. It's fucking crazy.
That sounds expensive as fuck.
It was crazy. Probably pretty expensive. But it was like stylized in a way that it wasn't necessarily supposed to look like hyper realistic or anything like that. So I feel like that helps it like a shit ton.
So it doesn't actually look like CG stuff?
What do you mean?
Like, it doesn't, you said hyper stylized, does it like not look like a movie?
No, it looks like a movie, but like it's not meant to look, because it like warps into, it's hard to explain.
Oh, the
it doesn't,
dragon's not super realistic.
Yeah, and the demon bear situation isn't either. Like, okay. Yeah, like it's a live action movie and everything, but there's just certain points in it where shit looks crazy because it feels like it's meant to look crazy because it's kind of like hallucinations that have come to life. It's got some really cool shit in it. The story is really shallow and it skips around a lot, and it feels, because they needed to do reshoots and never got to, it cuts around in a weird way that kind of sucks. And if they had got the reshoots, I feel like it would have been much better. But there's a lot of really cool shit in it. So, I mean, for people who aren't going to be... Because obviously you got those people out there who's like, it's not like the comic book. I fucking hate it. Yeah, those people definitely won't like it. And I feel like that's a lot of the people that didn't like it. For people who just want an interesting fucking experience with some really cool imagery, and a couple of these people really acting their asses off, like, I think it's worth watching. Is it worth renting for money? Probably not. Wait for it to be on Disney Plus. Worth watching, though.
I don't have any digital money for rentals, or I would have... What the fuck did I want to rent? Well, I guess it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, you have Disney Plus.
Yeah. Well, there's some I couldn't get.
You go figure out
Oh.
if Soul is racist or not.
I am waiting to do that. I wanted to watch. I was excited to watch all the Spider-Man movies I missed, but those are Sony.
They're not on Disney Plus. What?
Nope.
That's crazy.
Not a single Spider-Man movie is on Disney Plus. They are Sony Pictures.
They got like the whole fucking MCU on there except the Spider-Man movies.
I caught up on the MCU, which I'll get to in a second. But most importantly, I went and revisited the most important Marvel property of all time, the 1990s X-Men cartoon.
Oh. Yeah. Thoughts?
It absolutely 100% holds up. It's funnier than you remember. It's more action-oriented than you remember. The stakes are higher than you remember. The Phoenix Saga is better than you remember. They've got all sorts of Marvel.
Did you watch the whole thing?
Yeah, it's only 5 seasons. And I haven't been going to work. So, yeah, the theme song still fucking slaps.
The theme song is fucking top tier.
Gambit's awesome. Just the Cajun accents. Some of the irreverence, just fucking... Like, it was one thing when Wolverine kept calling Gambit Gumbo and Cajun, but then when other people got mad, just kept doing it and piling on.
You expect it from Wolverine, but if Professor Xavier starts calling it...
No, Professor X did not call him Gumbo. He was the only
but that would have been hilarious.
Dude, I think even Beast called him Gumbo once. It was nuts.
Feels out of character, but alright.
I'd also watched long enough to find out something that I didn't know. Like, I had questions of that, because I remember Rogue having super strength and being able to fly because of that cartoon, which is not canon anywhere else, I suppose. But they flash
she gets
back.
Those powers from Captain Marvel, or Miss Marvel at the time.
Yeah, no, they called her Captain Marvel in the show.
Okay.
She held on to her so long that they put Carol Danvers in a coma, and it was Carol Danvers, and she got to keep flight and strength permanently.
I didn't remember that being in that show. That's crazy.
Yeah, there's a whole episode where Rogue goes to visit Carol Danvers in the hospital, and she's just like combed out. There's all sorts of stuff in there that I didn't think about from the X-Men and from the X-Men movies and the Marvel movies, and how they all still pull little bits of plot from what happened there. And of course the cartoons pull stuff from the comic books, and it all travels forward. But specifically, like all the stuff with assassinating Senator Robert Kelly and the Brotherhood of Mutants, and the very specific things that cause Cable to time travel and do all of that stuff, and the investigation into the...
Is Cable in that show too?
Cable has a lot of episodes. So does Forge Master and whoever the hell actually time travels, but yeah, Cable's in it. I don't think by the end of the series they ever explained what the hell Cable's real goal was, other than to shut down some mutant slave camps. But yeah, the whole mutant cure, the registration, the Robert Kelly stuff, the fucking up the timeline with the assassination, the things that were... Of course, Apocalypse appears, and he's not that big of a threat, but, the episode that he becomes a threat feels like a threat, and it's like a 4-episode introduction of Rogue trying to give up her powers and Angel becoming one of the 4 horsemen. It's all the cool, crazy stuff that, like, you would hear comic book fans talk about being hinted at in the first 2 or 3 X-Men movies. You just get to see those stories. That's what they were working up to before those franchises fell apart. And it also makes it more rewarding to watch the first 2 X-Men movies and see things like Lady Deathclaw be relegated into a side character that Wolverine just kind of kills. And Silver Samurai only being 1 episode of the original series and pretty fucking lame.
I need to... I'm going to add that to my list, because... fairly recently, like within the last year or so, I watched like the first few episodes of it, and I was like, oof, this does not hold up at all, and I don't think I can do it. But actually hearing at this point, like, number 1, you're saying it does hold up. Number 2, the fact that there is this much shit that actually happens in it that I do not remember at all.
Yeah,
Like, that's crazy.
The Phoenix Saga is 5 episodes, and then there's 1 episode in between that and the Dark Phoenix Saga, which is another 4 episodes. There's
Hell yeah.
Yeah, there's all sorts of shit in there, and then it kind of ends abruptly with Charles Xavier going into a coma and saying goodbye to everyone.
Huh.
Spoiler.
I mean, it doesn't really seem like it's...
Not really, not at this
That's
point.
fine.
I was sad because I was like, oh, how are they going to get out of this one? And then I was out of episodes, and it sucked.
Damn.
Yeah. There's all sorts
Well, now
of
you
great
just
shit.
move on to, like, the Spider-Man cartoon.
I did. I hopped around to a couple. Well, first I went to X-Men Evolution. The one where... Yeah. Because when I was 8, that was fine.
I know. I fucking loved that show as a kid, and then I watched it, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. It was on in a hotel at some point, and I tried to watch it, and just hearing, like, Wolverine be like, crud, like, it just fucking drove me nuts.
Now, Wolverine doesn't cuss in the original series, but
I know, but...
he says bub every now and then, but most of what he does is, I've got your Blake right here, and pull out his claws.
Yeah.
And it's funny to me every time. I don't know if it's funny to everyone else, but I think it's a killer bit.
And then Rogue in X-Men Evolution just comes off super cringy at this point.
Yeah, I didn't get deep into it. I think I don't even know if I got through the first episode. I just couldn't get past the premise of they're supposed to be in high school and I'm supposed to care about high school.
Yeah. Yep. That's something like whenever you're a kid and you see shit about high school, you're looking up to that. You're like, high school, wow, blah,
They're
blah,
adults.
blah. But then you're right out of high school and you're like, look at these children.
Yeah.
Look at these X-Men children.
Nightcrawler has to go to school, so you give him a watch that makes him look like a person. That's stupid. And that doesn't even get rid of his tail. And he's not like the X-Men cartoon where he's he does the whole like German monk thing, which is an interesting couple of episodes, but yeah, so that was a bust. And then I went to the original Iron Man series, and I can't say it was bad, but I didn't make it deep into there because all of Iron Man's villains are there in the first episode, and basically no Iron Man villains are in Iron Man movies. Obadiah Stane is not even a cartoon villain for him. I had never heard of Obadiah Stane before the movies. I guess he's in the comics.
Yeah.
And then the Mandalorian didn't actually appear. Not the Mandalorian. The Mandarin.
The Mandalorian,
fight.
the famous Iron Man villain.
That'd be a good fight. The Mandarin's not
Yeah.
even really in Iron Man 3. And then just seeing his green ass jiggling shit and casting spells, I was like, nah. And every time that Tony has to put on the Iron Man suit, it's a 1.5 minute long 1990s early cartoon CGI 3D.
Oh, God.
Yeah. He spins around like 8 times and we have to see each piece of the suit assemble. It's just it's no good. It's no good. And then after that I did the 1999 run of Avengers Assemble, which is technically their classic cartoon, which has the most annoying iteration of Hot Guy. I will say that is more annoying than just Jeremy Renner's face. Vision.
What about Jeremy Renner's Social Network?
Jeremy Renner's Social Network app might have been the inspiration for this version of Hawkeye.
Oh, okay.
But also he kind of sounds like Wolverine. And then this version of Vision, Ultron makes the robot, and then like maybe does or doesn't, winds up absorbing Wonder Man, which is not a Marvel hero, an Avenger I'm really familiar with.
Yeah.
Tigress is
he
also
was going to be played by Nathan Fillion in one of the movies as like a cameo.
I don't know anything about him. I guess he's got enough powers to make up the other part of Vision's powers.
Interesting.
Which is cool. But they were very interesting characters. The team is led by Hank Pym, and that was really cool to see some classic Ant-Man action. I know about Tigress, but I don't know why she's on the Avengers. and they only had 10 episodes, so I bailed because I was like, this isn't worth getting involved in.
Okay.
And then I watched 2 episodes of the 1980s Spider-Man cartoon, and you know what? It's not going to hurt you to watch it. It's fine.
I used to watch the X-Men cartoon and the Spider-Man cartoon like all the time as a kid. Like that was my jam. I loved that shit so much, and I definitely remember the Spider-Man cartoon more than the X-Men one.
I didn't watch the one from the 90s. I watched the one from the 80s, and it is fun and has a lot in common with the Three Stooges. A lot of slapsticky, not very high stakes. Like the X-Men cartoon, you get some episodes into it, and there's still grit. One of the X-Men dies in the first season. I mean, he comes back later.
Yeah, but that's like what the fucking
Morph.
dude that Morph. That's his name. Died like the first or second episode.
Fucking Morph. Oh, it took
everyone's favorite.
I didn't realize that Jubilee was in the very first X-Men movie, because I don't think she's credited. But the first time Rogue sits down in the first X-Men movie is next to a Chinese girl with a long yellow jacket and fucked up glasses on her head. And I was like, oh yeah, that's gotta be Jubilee.
They did that shit all the time in those movies. Like, everything is super inconsistent in all the X-Men movies. Like, it's crazy, because, like, in X2, they mention Gambit's name in a thing, but it doesn't make sense, because
it's
then you look at X-Men Origins, and it's, like, the fucking 60s when he's there.
When Mystique...
Or not the 80s?
Oh, does Gambit ever appear in the main universe? I thought he didn't.
X-Men Origins, he's in there.
Oh, I have to watch that because I love Gambit. But yeah, when Mystique breaks into Stryker's lab and hacks just like a receptionist computer, he pulls up the file of like mutants we're watching, and it's got Remy LeBeau, which is Gambit, and then Maximov (2), which is Quicksilver and Wanda, and then a bunch of names I didn't really recognize.
Crazy.
Yeah, is that all the cartoons I did? Because it should be just one quick run of cartoons. I mean, that's good enough. I'm still going to watch more of the Spider-Man classic. I might jump ahead to the 90s Spider-Man because that's what I really remember. But the 80s Spider-Man is goofy and harmless, and that's fun.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, definitely classic X-Men, 10 out of 10. Ba-na-na-na-na-na. And so that seamlessly was my thoughts on the cartoons available on Disney+.
Amazing. I will say that there was a Spider-Man cartoon that came out probably 2014-ish that was also very good, with Drake Bell playing Peter Parker. But it had a certain...
Je ne sais quoi.
Like, it was very well written, and it had all kinds of characters and stuff in it. Like Deadpool is even in it, played by Will Friedle played Eric on Boy Meets World. Like, pretty good stuff. Yeah, they cross over with like the Guardians of the Galaxy constantly, and the X-Men, and even like fucking Shield from like the MCU and stuff. Like, pretty good stuff.
I'll have to check that out. I think next cartoon I'm gonna tear up. I'm probably gonna hold off on the Spider-Mans and just go straight to Gargoyles, because I remember being fascinated by that show, but I don't remember anything about it.
I remember liking it a lot too. It's one of the reasons why I was so edgy as a child.
Creature of the night.
Absolutely.
I'm going to learn to play that theme on guitar too, because I think it had a cool theme song.
The Gargoyles theme?
Yeah, I don't remember it though.
I remember it being super dope.
Had like real electric guitar in it.
Yeah, that was it.
No, that was X-Men.
Oh, you're right. That's funny though. I feel like they do hit some of the same notes. I don't remember the Gargoyles one being guitar though.
I can't remember.
It was more synthy. But I don't know.
I just learned to play the basic part of that riff while I was watching the cartoon because I was so jazzed. And I can't remember what it took me It took me a whole day to figure out the picking just because, like, it's really straightforward. It's only one chord. But I couldn't figure out, for some reason, just looking at the tabs, that the first four notes were, like, one sweep. It's just an arpeggio. And then now when I try to think of the theme song, I can't think of how it goes. I have to touch it on the guitar first.
No, no. Yes.
So what else did you watch?
I watched Watchmen on HBO, the series Watchmen, finally.
My mom doesn't have HBO. So I don't have HBO.
Damn, son. That's okay.
Yeah.
The Watchmen series was fucking amazing.
Was it worth all the Emmys it got?
I don't even know. Cause like initially whenever they're like, it's a Watchmen sequel, I was like, okay. Don't have a lot of high hopes for that. But this thing was crazy, and it was so freaking good, and it all took place in Oklahoma, which was super weird.
Yeah, in Oklahoma I didn't recognize because I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes and I didn't really. I mean, of course, Tulsa featured strongly.
Yeah.
I don't spend much time up there though because that's the racist part of Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously wasn't Oklahoma, but but it acted like it was Oklahoma. Yeah, it was insanely good. I was very surprised. Jeremy Irons fucking stole the show. Freaking amazing.
I saw the episode where he farted in that chair.
Was that whenever he was in like the courtroom or whatever?
Yeah, I basically only saw him in the courtroom.
Okay.
Audrey was watching it, so I wasn't really watching it.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I would want to do like spoilers or any of that.
Yeah, go ahead, because it's going to be at least 2 years before. I've listened to Mark Bernardin spoil it.
Okay. Yeah, but I thought that Jeremy Irons as Adrian Veidt was so good. Like, he did it so well. Very, very, like, definitely stole the whole show. The fucking Dr. Manhattan hanging out on Europa situation and basically creating a new Earth was crazy and super awesome. Like, the stuff that they did with older characters was really, really good and so true to, like, was so true to the characters, and then the new ones that they brought in fit in great as well.
I heard Dr. Manhattan's dick was the real star of the show.
I mean, for people looking for that, it certainly would have been. Like, it's there, but it's not like they didn't frame it in any kind of, like, crazy way or anything. And in a lot of cases, when he was naked, they weren't looking in that area. Like, it's not... I mean, Zack Snyder's Watchmen was a lot more dick heavy, for sure. But yeah, they did some really cool shit with this, and I like the fact that they made the Rorschach mask a symbol of extreme racism, I guess. Just because that's how the character was initially written, is he's an extremist, and Alan Moore said himself that, like, anytime people would stop him in the streets and be like, Rorschach is my favorite character, he would, like, he would immediately just be like, okay, get away from me, because it's, like, not a character that was ever meant to be, like, idolized in any way, but somehow was anyways. He's supposed to be the more extreme version of Batman, and people just, like, clung onto him being, like, the fucking hero and everything.
Alan Moore hates everything that he's ever done.
It's true. But I, like, and you know, knowing that, I'm just, like, really interested I want to know that he watched this show, and I want to know his thoughts on it. Like, if he felt like it hit, like, if it had, like, the same, like, what he was going for. Like, the same kind of, the fuck is the word? I don't know. The same soul, I guess, of the thing. Yeah, I just think it would be interesting to hear if he had actually watched it and would talk about it. But yeah, I was, and like the filmmaking wise, like the cinematography and everything is like really, really good. The whole story of Hooded Justice actually being a black dude was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I did watch that far.
Yeah. They did really good shit with this show that I did not expect. And then going in and seeing the first couple episodes, I'm like, I still don't see the connection, but it slowly built, and it was really, really well done. Surprising.
I did not get as far as the actual blue guy reveal of Dr. Manhattan, but I did see the whole flashback episode of the hooded whatever being a black superhero forced to wear white makeup, and everything before that and up to that I loved and was super excited. And then Audrey switched to The Boys for 2 episodes. Well, Audrey switched. I think she watched all of it, but I think they watched it while I wasn't there, which makes sense. It's their house.
Gotcha.
I don't live there.
You just like, don't watch it without me.
That would be weird. Hey, I came here
I'll
to
be
edit.
back tomorrow.
I'm here to edit more, but also don't watch any of the cool shows without me. And please stop watching Grey's Anatomy while I'm here.
Yeah, can't you just change these schedules?
It would be nice, because I would have loved to finish The Watchmen and take a serious crack at The Boys.
Yeah. Boys is also very good.
Much, also in the vein of the Dr. Manhattan's penis, Joss Whedon actually had several mock-ups for, one of the Rousseau brothers had several mock-ups done for Vision's penis.
Are you for real, or?
Yeah, I read some articles about it. Could be true.
I suppose, but I don't think it would be. It wouldn't have been the Russo brothers. It would have been Joss Whedon.
Oh, I was right. It was Joss Whedon. Yeah. So, and the
Which
first
that
scene,
I believe more.
in the first scene where he floats out and everybody's in the swank apartment and he flies out naked, he was supposed to be hanging.
Well, now I know why Disney decided to
It was
change
Joss
some
Whedon.
things.
He went to the CG team and he was talking to David Bettany. He was just like, "You're gonna have a penis in this and whatnot," and he was a little weirded out by it. And then the team, the mock-up team did like 18 mock-ups of possible Vision penises, and Joss Whedon was like, "You know what? We don't need this, and I'm sorry I saw it."
I don't feel like this is true.
That's basically the story I read. Just type in Joss Whedon penis and see what you get.
Yeah, audience, do that.
Oh no, sorry, probably Vision penis. Maybe Joss Whedon Vision penis?
Maybe the vision of Joss Whedon's penis.
Yeah, this is gonna be a hard search to pull off. Might have
Just
to go.
like Joss Whedon's penis.
He didn't find the right one.
Yeah. So, you watch anything else?
Of course I did. I caught up on all of the Marvel movies. The 3 that I remember off the top of my head missing was Thor Ragnarok, Captain Marvel, and the first Antman movie. I'll do them
Thor Ragnarok. Thoughts on Thor Ragnarok?
Dude, every fucking Thor movie should have been Thor Ragnarok. That was so
Right?
good. It was so fun. Everything about it was so good. And I love that Thor, and I'm glad we got to see that Thor, and then the Thor that showed up in Infinity War even makes more sense, and
Yeah.
him going off at the end of Endgame is a lot funnier now. And I did not know who Valkyrie was, so when Tessa Thompson was in Endgame, I didn't understand that.
That's crazy to think about. You're just like, wow, Thor got different, like, out of nowhere.
Well, he got
Who's
fat,
this bitch?
but he didn't leave Ragnarok fat. Well, I guess yeah. Well, Tessa Thompson didn't make any sense. I was just like, oh, he found a nice black Nordic person, but no. Tessa, first of all, Tessa Thompson, an attractive female, but full 10 in Valkyrie costumes and shit. Like that was its own thing.
Oh yeah.
Hell was a very disappointing villain, but it's a Thor
Yeah.
villain. Who gives a shit? Uh,
Yeah, she wasn't that important. She could have just really not even been there.
You could say that they overused Immigrant Song, but you could also say they overused Wonder Woman's theme in that case. Who gives a shit? It was a great battle soundtrack. It is what it is. The song's about Thor. The fight, when just him coming into his Thunder God prowess and taking out the Hulk and surprise Jeff Goldblum was fucking awesome. Everything about it was just Taika Waititi knows what the fuck's up, dude. That was a fun movie.
Oh yeah.
And I can't wait for Thor 4.
Hell yeah.
Super, super, super love that movie. That might be my favorite. I mean, of course, Endgame is a very special moment in movie history, period. And just rewatching it again was still, yeah, it was just as sad the second time. Really makes you go escapism. I notice that I'm actually escaping when I start tearing up and nothing bad is happening. And yeah. I could still totally get sucked into Endgame.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, Thor Ragnarok might be the best Marvel movie outside of just the masterpiece that Endgame had to be.
I agree.
On the other end of the spectrum, we have Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel. Yeah. Yeah.
Which Audrey in the garage called it her favorite Marvel movie because of the 90s. And I don't...
What 90s? The Nine Inch Nails shirt or the
Yes.
fucking No Doubts or...
I heard 10 seconds in a blockbuster. I've tried to do less openly criticizing Audrey for her thoughts and opinions because it causes fights for John. But that was hard. That was hard for me to not say anything. I don't like the whole first 30 or 40 minutes of the movie. I didn't really know. Like, I knew what was going on, and I knew this was Captain Marvel, and we should give a shit. I did not like her performance as Carol Danvers that much. Not that there's a whole lot of Carol Danvers to compare shit to, but just kind of the faux cocky attitude, the looking down at stuff. I get that she's supposed to be fun and funny, but it didn't really feel like we had a whole character there. The whole kind of presumed arc was that she's supposed to unlock her hidden potential, but they're keeping her down. I mostly heard people complaining about the feminist undertones being heavy-handed and whatnot, which I'll push back on a little bit because the plot at the end is that she was, being mind manipulated in a very specific way, and that kind of makes sense, although her revelation and coming into her power was very abrupt.
Also, yeah.
I would probably say that I didn't like the performance. I didn't like the first act. By the time that we finally get Sam Jackson running around and sussing out scrolls and doing all that stuff, and even the part where we learned to take the side of the scroll, all that became infinitely more entertaining. There was definitely a solid chunk towards the end of the middle. Meeting Monica Rambeau or whatever her mom's name was, which was cool because I've been watching WandaVision to see that character appear earlier in the series. Monica Rambeau's mom was Karen the Danvers' best friend, and that was fun. It was brief. I don't really care for Carol Danvers' character in this or the portrayal, but it did wind up becoming fun.
The issue that I had with, like, the biggest issue is that she doesn't have any, like, warmth behind her, like, in that, like, that character. Because, like, Brie Larson, in other shit, she comes off just fine, but it's like in this role, she went for something that did not have a lot of any kind of good feelings.
No, she went for Joseph Gordon-Levitt acting cocky. And it didn't
in what? Like, what's this? I don't know what this reference is.
It's a very specific thing I've never been able to nail. About for 3 minutes of everything that he's in, he starts... I don't know, I have to put together a compilation.
Yeah, I'm thinking of him in the Dark Knight Returns, or not Returns, Rises, and then I'm thinking of him in Inception, and it's kind of like, yeah,
There's
but then I'm just kind of like, wait, is this just a Christopher Nolan thing?
no, there's always moments in every role that he does, even in Postmates or whatever the fuck he was in, where he just like breaks his character and just starts getting really cocky and has like a sassy walk and squints his eyes and looks down at shit and lowers his voice a little bit. That was basically the whole Allison Brie performance. "Come As You Are" was a terrible song for the scene. I'm sorry, Brie Larson. Yeah, so "Come As You Are" was a terrible use of that song. The No Doubt song was used well. What the fuck else was in
It
it?
was used well, but it was very over the top.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't tell what I was feeling at that point.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm kind of excited that shit is going down and we get to see her be like fully powered up and everything. But I'm also kind of like, this is a little bit cringe because it is really heavy-handed.
And did she fight 4 people or 12?
I don't remember. I've seen the movie
Right?
once, and it was a long time ago. She flew through some ships, I think, unless that was just an Endgame.
No, she did.
Okay.
With some dubious CGI. But yeah, it was just like some of the bigger her action pieces were kind of weak. Her acting, her physical acting during the thing was relatively convincing. Like she did a good job being someone punching the shit out of people.
Yeah. You're really throwing her weight.
Yeah, she was really doing it, man. She was doing some cool shit.
Oh, yeah.
I maybe it's not her fault and she doesn't deserve. Maybe the director should have called her on the shit and straightened her out earlier, had some meetings. I don't know, develop it better. I can't really tell if she's. I don't remember seeing her in anything else. So as far as I'm concerned, like, yeah, go ahead and get rid of her. Put the black one in. I know they were talking about doing that.
She was in Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Was she?
And 21 Jump Street.
Was she the lesbian?
Lesbian. No, she was Scott's ex-girlfriend.
Is that on Disney Plus?
No, that's a Universal movie.
I think the series is on Disney Plus. Wait,
There's a series?
I think there is a series.
There's a series and I don't know about it. I need to know about it now.
Anyway, yeah, that was probably that there was definitely a lot of things to enjoy from it, but it was probably the worst Marvel movie.
She was also on The League.
Well, I love the League. Okay.
She was the what they call it, like the babysitter chick that they were that.
The au pair?
The au pair, yeah, that was her.
Well, she was super hot as the au pair. Well, okay, so this performance was so stunning I couldn't recognize her.
Yeah,
at all.
it's just like a weird choice. Like,
I'll respect it, and she has time to correct it. I mean, she was. I mean, I think her best line in the entire Marvel franchise is "Hello, Peter Parker."
yeah, that was the one time that she had a little bit of warmth in her.
Yeah, it's like she hitting on him. That's hot. It's
I don't think I
inappropriate.
was hitting on, but like a, hey, I'm here to help kind of situation.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, you're cute. You're on the ground, weak little insect boy who has a baby face and abs.
I will crush you like a bug.
Yeah.
He's like a little chipmunk. She's trying not to scare away.
No, she wants to take him home for sure. At least scoop him up in a jar. You know, send him
Like a
someplace where he's
spider.
safer. Yeah, take him outside. Send him someplace where he's safer.
There you go.
Yeah. I won't give it a number. I just probably won't watch it again.
Yep, that's kind of where I ended up.
I hope she warms up because the like 3 lines that she had in Endgame made her a much more likable character.
Yeah.
And on to Antman #1. I don't understand. I don't understand the Wasp's whole character. It kind of seemed like that was the worst possible version of that character that they could have done. Why is she crying so much? Why is everybody fighting? Why is it so manic? I don't understand these characters growing for or against each other in any way. And then Scott Lang literally plucked out of the air and put into
You're
the
talking
Ant-Man
about
costume.
Ant-Man 1?
Yeah. The whole character development between the girl who plays what will eventually be the Wasp,
Yeah.
and Hank Pym, was so forced and so fast and so lazy and so not believable. It
I
was
barely remember her in
distracting.
the first one. I just remember hating her fucking hair so much in that movie.
Yep, her hair made her look old and ugly, and she was pretty hot in Ant-Man 2. And I don't
Yeah.
know how you don't do that to women, man. I mean, I know they're not there to serve us visually, but also you can do them favors. You don't have to give them those haircuts. You can make them look hot like she is in the subsequent films. Um,
Like she is in real life.
yeah, exactly. She's hot. Don't do that to her. She walked in looking better than you left her, so don't do that. Um, the first the first chunk racing to making Ant-Man the Ant-Man. Um, Paul Rudd's always charming and cute and fun, but the whole training montage just seemed like a stupid waste of time. It was poorly planned out. It was a terrible sequence. It was just kind of waiting for him to do a lot of stuff really quick, and then he suddenly had a victory against the Captain Falcon is what I'll call him because I'm stumbling over my words. Um, his dorky friends are fun, but even their presence in the movie was kind of like what. Um, until we got, I'm like I need all these people to be there to enjoy Ant-Man 2 as much as I did, but there was
Yeah.
it just seemed like they stumbled drunk through the whole plot, and it was still a lot of fun. You can't when Paul Rudd gets to be fun and funny, and they're actually doing the shrinking and growing and fighting with Thomas the Tank Engine,
Yeah.
doing all sorts of fun
What a great
shit.
action set piece. Fucking Thomas the Tank Engine.
Once they actually once they do enough of the groundwork to let it be what it is a fun movie. But the whole
Yeah.
setup and the character developments were whack, and the villain was whack, and I hated all of it. It was so forced and corny.
Yeah, the villain sucks. Yellow Jacket's garbage.
Yeah, he was fucking corny, dude. It was like, like I know he's a comic book villain, but how much of a comic book villain do you need to be? It was stupid.
Yeah.
Mustache twirling, bald fuck, stupid loser.
It's one of the MCU's like things that they get wrong the most is the villains are often just the worst. And at some point they did get a lot better, but then they still slip in fucking Hella where it's like, nope, this is still bad. Cuz like Michael B. Jordan from Black Panther was like
Awesome.
the height
Killmonger was
of
great.
that fucking movie. He was the best part of that movie. It's a perfectly good movie, mostly great. The CG at the end was so bad. But like Michael B. Jordan was like the height of that movie. And then Thanos was pretty fucking good in Infinity War as well. But then you have like Hela there in the middle. Like, what the shit is this?
Yeah, Thanos kind of rides onto his own thing because he's a legitimate big bad. Like you can make the arguments that some villains are too small or too silly. Like a lot of Spider-Man villains are silly, but they make personal attacks on Peter Parker and the stakes are real.
Mhm.
And they're still fun and cartoony. Like as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, we didn't get a real Iron Man villain the whole time Iron Man was alive. And now we're never going to. Like, what is the Mandarin gonna do?
Well, Whiplash is a real Iron Man villain.
That's true. Okay, yeah, all right, I'll give him that. And that was an entertaining fight, but he wasn't even the main villain. Justin Hammer's a real villain from the from Iron Man.
Yeah,
But
I think
he's
he's
usually
coming back
older.
finally. I've been waiting for that motherfucker to come back. I love Sam Rockwell.
Dude, I'll watch Sam Rockwell on Zoom. I don't care. Just get more Sam Rockwell, which is an interesting choice because in the cartoons, Justin Hammer's like a pretty old guy.
Yeah. Which is not as interesting.
But as much as I hated the character development and some of the like, let's get the hero on his feet for Ant-Man, it was still fun enough that I'll probably watch it again, and hopefully enjoy it more the second time.
Yeah, every once in a while, that's one of the ones that I'll put on just as I'm going to sleep.
I might just do Ant-Man 2 again because that was legit a really great funny movie, and it's on its feet. You don't have to build too much.
Yeah.
It's already
There's
going.
so
It's a
much
sequel.
setup with Ant-Man. Like, the whole thing is basically set up, and I feel like that's probably why they gave it such a simple villain. because it's like we have to explain out of nowhere the shrinking technology, how it actually works, even though we're not going to stick to that at all. You know, not even for a single movie will we stick to the rules that we expressly say. But you know,
All the quantum stuff is set up well. That's a through line that goes through to the end of Endgame.
yeah, but the stuff where they're like, how he shrinks is the atoms get closer together. All right, then how does he go subatomic? Number one. And then they're like, oh yeah, and his mass will stay the same or whatever. And it's like, okay, then why can he run on the barrel of a gun? You know, that shit doesn't make sense.
Oh, right.
Why
Okay.
are you carrying an
You know
actual
what?
full
you don't
tank
get
in
to
your
make
pocket?
these arguments for them. You don't. Want to know why? Because you will defend Captain America's fucked up shield, and I just can't. Captain America's shield special ability is plot armor.
No, I'm not saying that the shit that Captain America's shield does is any better. I'm just saying I don't let that.
Ignorant.
No, I'm just saying I don't let that kind of shit ruin the movie. I'm just adding to what you're saying about the fact that the setup for Ant-Man, there was so much of it.
Yeah, he should lose mass. I can understand conserving momentum. So like if he could jump small and then grow and then it's a little bit of whatever they need it to be powers.
Yeah, like that stuff doesn't bother me. Like, because it doesn't harm the movie in any way. If it does anything, it makes it better. Like, if everything stuck to those rules very specifically, it would limit so many things.
Well, it would become a Christopher Nolan film.
Exactly, where you're just explaining everything the whole time.
Yeah, and it has to be air-clad, and the thing that is the idea is the whole purpose of the movie. Then we have to explore it brutally.
Which is a thing that I respect and I like in most cases. Tenet is not one of those cases.
Yeah,
Because Tenet was such a complex idea with such a simple story that immediately just the only reason the story was anything was plot holes that he couldn't explain. It was problems. Fuck that movie.
I still haven't seen Inception, and it's not on Disney Plus because that's a Warner Brothers property.
Yeah, it's probably on HBO Max though. The most expensive streaming service.
If I save up a little money to watch something, I'll go YouTube all of the Spider-Man movies because I don't think Sony has a streamer yet.
Yeah, it might be on Netflix though.
Maybe. I will say after catching up on the 3 Marvel movies that I had missed, and I had thought that it would be more, although there are 2 Spider-Man movies I haven't seen. Watch them all,
Which
man.
those two have amazing villains.
I can't wait to see it. I love Spider-Man so much. I was shitting on someone the other day talking about superheroes. I said there's only 2 superheroes, Batman and Spider-Man. Because that's a throwback argument that pisses
Kind of
people off.
true. They are the two biggest superheroes in the world. At least they were for quite some time. It might be different now that the MCU has exploded.
I hear Sam Raimi's coming to direct a Spider-Man movie, or at least a Marvel movie. I don't know.
He's doing. He's doing Doctor Strange.
No,
and
yes,
the
Multiverse
of Madness.
I'm looking forward to that because I didn't do it on this run, but I did enjoy the Doctor Strange movie as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd seen that before I got my mom's
I
password,
think
though.
that is one of my least favorites going back and rewatching it. Like, it's got some great visuals and shit, but story-wise, one of the worst.
I was just ready for weird Marvel, and I was excited to be like, let's do more weird Marvel. I guess it wasn't that great of a movie, but it made me excited to see more.
Yeah.
Like
I
I give a fuck about a second Captain Marvel movie.
I feel similarly.
Yeah, they could surprise us. They could if we get it's the feminists will come after us for saying make her warmer, because that language is toxic. But also it would make the movie more fun.
I would say the same thing about dudes if they were playing a hero character that fucking cold and they're not Batman. Like, even Iron Man, who's a fucking cold son of a bitch, has some warmth to him. Like,
Hawkeye's a fucking loser.
Yeah, but,
I'll still
that's Hawkeye.
I still feel it in my chest, the opening scene of Endgame. Just as much as I hate Jeremy Renner and Hawkeye, still watching him like come out and his kid's gone. That's still, man, that's such a fucking great scene.
Yeah, they killed it.
But yeah, definitely don't miss Thor Ragnarok. It's worth watching all the Marvel movies if you're a little bit invested. There's no reason to skip any of them.
Yeah, except for the stuff that's coming up, like, you know, the addition of TV shows that there's kind of a limit at some point, I would think, that some people would just be like, all right, no.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I'm still all in. I'm in. Anyways, this is gonna be a 5.5 hour podcast.
Are we wrapping
This
it
is
up?
This is gonna be multiple podcasts.
As I was feeling like we were supposed to be wrapping it up, but I wasn't sure when it was coming.
Well, the conversation kept going.
We had stuff to talk about. WandaVision has a lot of fertile content.
I think WandaVision is gonna be the standalone video here, and yeah.
Might as well be.
I might have to just get that out immediately.
That sounds aggressive. I don't know what immediate means.
Yeah, me either.
It really is quiet.
What the fuck is happening?
I played the outro, but I took an earbud out to do it. Let me actually turn up.
Well, you were like breaking, like the sound was breaking up. It was like.